Murder. Yes, former wide receiver Joshua Bowden was recently sentenced to life in prison. The former BC Lions player was found guilty in 2021 of. BC Lions? Who put the CFL? Smoke Show! Greetings, humans. My name is Josh Smokey Hal Nelson, and this is The Smoke Show. Not to make light of a horrific situation, that murder from the cold open actually occurred, and we hope the sentence brings some semblance of closure to the family of Kimberly Hallgarth. On today's episode, we are focusing on the running back position. However, before we get into the fantasy fun, let's give those sponsors some love and recover this fucking open. The Smoke Show is a proud member of the Fantasy Points Media Group. If you have a need in sports, the Fantasy Points Media Group has a show that will cover you and then some. There is a baker's dozen, or more, of quality shows that will keep you entertained and your wallet fat. Now, the Fantasy Points Media Group is brought to you by fantasypoints.com, where you can use the discount code SMOKEY22 for the best price off the best site in sports, period. They cover NFL, NCAA, and PGA with all the info you need on rankings, projections, stats, DFS facts to bring you real ass cash. So go to fantasypoints.com and use the promo code SMOKEY22. That is SMOKEY22 for the best price off the best site in sports, period. Now, a couple of news items while we are on the theme of running backs. Kareem Hunt seems to have ended his long holdout of, 17 hours? So big nothing burger there. It is looking more and more like Alvin Kamara's trial will be pushed back to 2023 as lawyers for all parties involved have asked for another extension, which the judge has granted. If there are still discounts on Kamara, take them! They're yours! To quote Brad Pitt and Troy. Upside wins championships, folks, and what other RBs are out there that can boast a 6-touchdown week in their range of outcomes? Very few. Kamara is one of them, and if you could get him at as your running back 2 or 3, depending on your start, man, get him, take him, he's yours. On the subject of my Cowboys, they're dropping like flies, which, in my humble fucking opinion, should be a major benefit to one Tony Pollard. Now tell me this offense wouldn't be devastating with Schultz, CD, and insert wide receiver here on the outside. With Pollard in the slot and Zeke in the backfield, Dak is another year removed from his crushing injury and another year stronger and more confident. What I'm saying is Kellen Moore might be forced to live up to that reputation he might not quite have earned yet and start finding creative ways to get Pollard involved in that offense without sacrificing Zeke's workload that has the jury guarantee. I am in on Pollard this year, if only for the opportunity, because sometimes that's all it takes to force your talent into a lineup and cement your worth to the offense. Tony Pollard is one of the Smoke Show's my guys for 2022. But I'm curious what someone who's more bullish on top-end RBs thinks and how they're approaching drafts this year. For that, I have the sincere pleasure of bringing on mi hermano Jorge Martin of Familia FFB fame, another proud Fantasy Points Media Group member. I present the Smoke Show's micro interview with Mr. Jorge Martin.
I'm glad we're getting back into football because this is the time we're going to help people win their leagues. This is the time, and there's no more important position than the running back position in almost all fantasy drafts. Just so important. I'm glad you asked me to be on this one.
Oh, well, I'm very excited to hear what you have to say about these two questions today. So, we're going to start off with, in your opinion, what is one thing that you think fantasy players out there need to know about the running back position group this year in drafts?
Well, you know what? This year, I think there's going to be some discounts that are happening out there because there were injuries last year. I think people are reacting a little bit to last year I was just looking at it. I think of the first 12 running backs that got drafted, I think 10 of them missed at least one game. So I think people are reacting to that and making and being like, oh, running backs get injured, get injured, get injured. You know what? But still, you don't want to go too far. You don't want to like fade them too much. Everybody loves Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams in the first round. Love it, but you need to get a running back. I prefer to get a running back early, preferably in the front half of the first round. But if I'm drafting the second half of the first round, and a Devontae Adams, a Travis Kelce, or maybe a Jamar Chase falls to me, I'm thinking really hard. One thing that I'm really making sure that I've been keeping an eye on, and this is something that's kind of developed a little bit with me on the best ball side, is I've been adapting kind of like the hero RB approach, anchor RB, some people call it, but what I'm doing kind of like hero RB or Saquon Barkley. Hero RB plus Saquon Barkley. If Saquon falls to me in the second round or even the third round, he's fallen to me in the third round, and I'm just like, I grab him up, solidify that position, and then I just annihilate wide receivers. Just wide receivers, tight ends, maybe, and then come back to the running back position a little bit later. Get some rookies. There are a couple rookies that I like coming out. But you know what? That's the thing. This is such. I think there are so few. The other thing about this is the running backs. The days of getting a dozen guys that are running the ball 300 times or even touching the ball 300 times. It's not that much. Yeah, no more. I think we might get like a half dozen guys doing that this year. If you can solidify one of those guys, I'll definitely do it. If not, I mean, those wide receivers are so tempting, so tempting. Yeah, I mean, some of the high volume guys are just, and somebody is going to come out of nowhere. And I mean, maybe not have a Cooper Kupp type of season like last year or Deebo Samuel, but there are guys that are going to take a jump forward. And I just want to make sure that I want that guy and just some good running backs, especially if you're missing out on Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey.
Okay, so let me just put a hypothetical out to you here.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming up on, let's say you had an early pick in the first round there, so you got an early pick in the third, and the board drops to you, and you're staring down CeeDee Lamb or Saquon Barkley. So coming back to your Saquon pick, who are you taking here and why?
Oh, wow. I've drafted in the first round, right? I've drafted in the front half of the first round, so I've probably solidified someone from the JT, man.
You got a top tier guy, and we'll say you went wherever round 2 because you knew you were coming up on the turn here.
Yeah, so I've solidified a great. So I would imagine that I've solidified a really good receiver with my second pick, and now I've got Saquon with the third. So the question is, do I go Saquon or CD? It's 51-49, but I'm going Saquon because I am going Saquon. I think there are many reasons for this. Mm-hmm. Healthy, second year after the ACL. I had Dr. Edwin Porras on with me a couple months ago, and and he is as big as Saquon supporter. But you know what? Here's the thing: second year coming off the ACL, it was a freak injury last year. Did not need surgery. So, and he's going into a contract year, and he really has no competition. And he's going to be getting the receiving work. I just had Paul. I also had just this week Paul Dottino of WFAN talking all Giants, and he is just said, he was at all the practice, at all the mini camp, and all the OTAs, and he said Saquon is on a mission. And he said, Saquon is ready. And I also had the Cowboys guy, RJ Ochoa, mi amigo from Blogging the Boys under the SB Nation. And he's big on CD, but I'm kind of like, if I'm going to get a running back who's going to get passing game work in the third round, I'm grabbing him, and I'm hoping that I can I'm hoping that in the fourth round, yeah, gosh, who's going to be falling to that at that point? Who's potentially really good? I mean, gosh, AJ Brown's not falling that far. He's
He was the
not.
first
But
name that was coming up in my head when you were putting that out
oh,
there.
really?
So, yeah, 100%. I was going to interject and be like, AJ might fall, but yeah, it depends on your format. But I've seen AJ in the early fourth. This happening, but
If AJ could if you could tell me that I could go great running back in the first half of the first round, saw top tier wide receiver, Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown in the fourth. You know what? I'm counting my money. I'm gonna count my money. I'm just gonna tell everybody. You know what? You guys are buying me. I'll buy you guys all beers because I already beat you guys really badly. Many cervezas. Many cervezas.
Woo! Mas.
Muchas más.
So does your perspective on this change if we switch the format to a super flex?
Well, you want to know something? I just got tested that way this past weekend at the Scott Fishbowl. We had a live draft. I was at the Scott Fishbowl LA draft, the LA live draft, and I went first round. I took the number 1 overall pick, so I grabbed Josh Allen. Big surprise, no surprise there. Second round, the quarterbacks just evaporated, and Austin Eckler's staring at me. So I thought I'm going Eckler. And I love being at the end of, either end of the draft. So the 1 or the 12. So I love being there. Yeah.
Hold up 1 second there. Weren't you drafting against Liz Loza?
I was in a different division than Liz, but Liz and I, we ended up in I believe, let's see. I'm drafting with, Kendall Valenzuela, Sam Holt, Major Caldwell, John Paulson's in my group. So I mean, I had some major ballers in there. Tim Riley from also he's the guy who ended up wearing if you guys see the hype video from the SFBLA draft that Trophy Smack did, he's the guy who ended up wearing the toilet seat all through the draft. He lost the bet. But yeah, that was my group. Liz is great. Liz, I actually spent a little time with her and talked with her and Mauricio Gutierrez, who is basically the Mexican. I call him the Mexican Matthew Berry. He is the guy down there. He's become a very good. So I'm hoping that we talked about them coming on my show, so it's gonna be happening sometime before the season starts. They were absolutely fantastic. Liz is just a gem of a person. We talk kids a little bit. My kids are a little bit older than hers, but yeah, no, it was. So I went the Eckler, and then you know how it does the reversal. Yeah. So I'm now drafting everybody. I wait all the way around
back to the 312.
Back to the 312. So I got 312 and 4-1, and I'm big. I'm big on the sophomore quarterbacks when it comes to super flex drafts, and I grabbed Trevor Lawrence there. I think he's gonna have a bit of a bounce back year. Guess who's sitting there waiting for me at 4-1? I grabbed Saquon Barkley right there. I actually passed on a couple guys that the running backs kind of went at that point. I passed on DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, who I was really weighing between the two of them because I like them.
Tough one.
I like them both a lot, but I mean, I was kind of like, oh, if I'm going to get Aaron Jones, I was like, maybe I'll get AJ Dillon later because I like him a lot too. And Debo. So I thought, you know what, I'm kind of sticking to that one, Barkley. And then you know what, we're through. Let's see, we're in round 17 right now, and I waited until the 11th round to take my next running back. So wow. Yeah, and I just annihilated receivers at that point, and these are my receivers that I'm going in with. I went Deontay Johnson, Michael Pittman, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Thomas, and Brandon Ayuk. So I'll take those guys all day long.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Ayuk's gonna have a big year this year, man.
He's being very underrated. Very underrated. I'm very pumped. I think he's going to be good. I'm pretty pumped about Trey Lance. Going to have a 49ers beat writer on in a little more than a week. He has to wait until after training camp started. But yeah, all signs are pointing to Brandon Ayuk having himself a big year with Trey Lance. And I'm not buying that Debo's taking a big step backward.
No. I mean,
this is going to be a good offense.
We had a baseline of a great offense last year with Jimmy G.
Yes, yes.
People, come on. We don't think that Trey Lance is just the slightest bit, even just a little bit better than Jimmy G? Come on now. This kid can run. This kid's got a cannon of an arm.
Oh.
He throws fastballs like none other, man. I'm so excited to see him out there without the specter of JG on his back.
I mean, he'll be there, but yeah, I mean, he's not throwing until mid-August. He's not throwing until mid-August. So
exactly.
This is his team.
Yeah, it's Trey Day, babe, down in the Bay.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, mi amigo.
I'm stoked. And I might just have a little personal bias in here. I've got like a 4-part San Francisco stack going on in Scott Fishbowl right now myself.
What are they? What are the parts? What are the parts?
Okay, so I got Trey Lance.
Uh-huh.
I got Brandon Ayuk. I got George Kittle. I got Elijah Mitchell.
Oh, caliente, caliente, caliente.
I'm hoping muy.
Mucho, yeah, muy bueno, muy bueno.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. And that's gonna be a great. It's got a great line. You got a great. Kittle. I mean, people give him a hard time when he's out, but when he's in, he has a lot of games where he's just like a wide receiver one.
Absolutely, and he's actually my tight end too.
You went bully? You went bully in Scott Fishbowl?
I didn't go full bully. I haven't taken a third one yet, but 2 of my first 3 picks were definitely tight ends.
Who was the other one? Did you go? Oh, is it Andrews or Kelsey?
Oh, baby, Kyle Anthony Pitts.
Oh,
I took him 103. I am fucking crazy like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. 103. I love that.
Yeah, your boy's got balls.
Oh, man. So now I could see that in a dynasty, but man, Scott Fishbowl, I mean, you know what?
Hey, go baby, go home, baby.
The other thing, I mean, you're pointing out, you're leaning on something big, is the fact that Marcus Mariota, when he was the starter in Tennessee, who was his favorite target? The tight end.
Delaney Walker, baby.
Yep.
And is it the same system that he's running now with a more talented tight end? Nothing against Delaney Walker, but he ain't Kyle fucking Pitts.
No,
and honestly, and people be, oh, that was years ago. Well, he played one game for the Raiders, started, and Waller put up over 150 in a touchdown.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you want a bit more recent example, there it is. Small sample size, granted, but he can do it. And who else is there, man? Drake London is great. Don't get me wrong. I think he was my wide receiver 2 in this class behind Wilson. But he's not Kyle Pitts. He's also a rookie. Getting used to a new system, getting used to the speed of the NFL, all that jazz. And he's kind of a Pitts 2.0, the way he's built, the way his game is predicated on just being able to fuck shit up like that.
Yeah.
But Kyle Pitts has been there. He's done it. And what else is there? There's not a ton there. There's not a ton. So he's going to eat. I mean, 103, man. I got a little bit of faith in my boy Kyle Pitts. But yeah, I went full crazy on this one because, hey, it's upside, man. You got to go big or go home. So now
That was
it's
huge.
Gonna be an interesting one.
That I love that. I love friend of the show, Bo McBrayer.
My boy Bo.
He is the one who was just he was the patron saint. He was the man, the myth, the legend. He was pointing out. He goes, I think he went 4 tight ends, and he went ham on tight ends, and he went bully similar to what you did to. Two big guns right off the bat, and he said, "I'm just taking all the tight ends from everybody else, and I'm just gonna, destroy, put them all over my flex and everything." So,
absolutely, especially in a tight end premium league like this. I mean, yes, it's only half point, but that makes tight ends a full PPR. So why wouldn't you want to play 1 or 2? Admittedly, my plan failed on this one, but I got Mac Jones for my QB2 because I want a little bit of safety in passing efficiency. But I tried to get Hunter Henry on, I think, probably the 12th or something like that. And he got sniped like 3 picks before me. I just fucking lost it. But if I was able to get stacks of both my quarterbacks with both their tight ends, plus add Pitts on top of that, that's a weekly play that would just be fantastic. But
Oh,
it didn't
that's
work out. So that's fine. That's fine. I still got some good stuff going on.
Jonu's still there, probably.
Yeah, probably. And you know what? I was a big Johnny Smith fan. I hope he pulls it together this year because we've seen what this guy can do. But yeah, I expect them to take a step forward. I think they're going to open it up a little bit more for Mac and hopefully let him throw a bit more so he's not doing Jimmy G type games with 3 passes. Anyways.
No. And actually, I just sat down with the Boston Herald writer and just preview that I'm going to drop this early week of the 25th. They're tailoring the playbook a lot more to what Mac can do. Things that he was very successful at Alabama, and just kind of growing him within the offense. This is that they're the one thing about that offense though is like there may not be a 1,000-yard receiver because there's just going to be a lot of guys that are going to be getting everything. But yeah, the tight ends are going to, he did say definitely Hunter Henry is going to get more work. Jonnu Smith kind of like more of a break glass in emergencies only. But as you keep going further down, you never know. Maybe you catch fire and gets hot.
Yeah, I mean, all he has to do, his best thing to do right now is just get fucking healthy.
Yes.
Because we all know that's kind of Hunter Henry's biggest Achilles heel. I don't go as far as saying injury prone because thanks to Dr. Edwin Porras, there is no such thing injury prone as a myth. If you have not checked out his article that came out just over a year ago on this, it was a 2-parter. Go to fantasypoints.com and check this out. It's one of my favorite articles to go back to because injury prone is a myth. Fucking busted.
And his podcast,
he great, man. I love the doc.
He just had a great one on comparing, whether Derrick Henry and Ezekiel Elliott, if they've gone over the cliff, and just it's 10 minutes. Use it on part of a dog walk. You'll thank me later.
Oh, absolutely, man. He's just chock full of fucking great information. And when it comes to injury specific things, when it comes to fantasy football, he's my go-to. He's my absolute go-to, and not just because we have easy access to him on Discord. But no, he's stellar. I love that guy. But folks, I hope that we have imparted some knowledge on you here. Well, mostly my man Jorge here, because I'm just the one asking the questions. But I hope he was able to impart some knowledge that you will be able to find very useful in your drafts this coming season. Best of luck to you guys. Jorge, do you have anything else to say, my friend?
Everybody just enjoy Hero RB, grab the running backs. The running backs are going to be there. There are going to be some running backs there late. Grab some of those rookies later. They could pop in the second half of the season, guys. James Cook, Tyler Algier. We were talking about that. Damian Pierce is one of the guys I'm grabbing a lot. Doing that, but everybody, please, gosh, thank you for letting me be on the Smoke Show, Familia. If you got a little time, go check out my Beat Writer series / NFL Insider series. I've got 26 of 32 teams that are done. Going to have all 32 teams done by the early days of training camp, and everybody is talking about their teams from a fantasy perspective. Shorter episodes, so everything's there for you.
Smoke Show! Please go check that Insider series from Jorge Martin out. He brings the goods every time. Now, there is one backfield above all others that interests me the most, and also the one that confuses me the most. One name that has been popping up since this next interview is Pacheco. Yes, we are referring to the Kansas City Chiefs, and who better to lead myself and all of y'all through this ring of hell than the man himself, Mr. Mike Hicks. The big thing that I want to know from you today is how you are approaching the running back position, in particular in fantasy drafts this year. But before then, I want to get, you see that hat he's wearing there, folks? That beautiful Kansas City Chiefs hat. If you don't know my boy Mikey, he is a little bit of a Chiefs fan, we'll say. Just slightly. Yeah. Okay, he has dyed in the skin a Chiefs fan for realsies here, folks. And I want to know, what is your take on the Chiefs' backfield situation right now? There is a lot of running backs in the stable. I want to know, what are your thoughts on your Chiefs' backfield right now?
We don't have an RB1. I think that CEH is going to do better than he did last year. I am not sure how I feel about it, but I think there is something a little bit behind the whole he had gallbladder surgery and all that. So he couldn't recoup like he did last year. I just want to start off another thing saying my emotions are they should have drafted DeAndre Swift from the beginning, not CEH.
Yes, yes, thank you.
I
Thank you.
mean,
Now, did this come down to Mahomes? Is there fire behind this smoke that was drifting on draft day 2 years ago here?
100%. I think the only reason they drafted CEH over DeAndre Swift was Mahomes got on the phone and said, "Hey, Brett Veach, I want a pass catching guy like CEH." Do I think it was the right move? No. But now we got to live with it. I think the problem that I have with CEH overall was, and I know you'll agree with me, Smokey, because you watch football and you dive into it like I do for fantasy. He can't do diddly squat within the 5-yard line. When you get into the red zone, he is not that kind of guy. To be a first-round running back, you need to be an overall guy.
Thank you. You have to be checking all the boxes.
All the boxes. You spend they spent first-round capital. I don't want people to think that I can't stand CEH. It's that I don't think he was the right decision, and I don't think he is a bona fide one. Right now, he's going at ADP 25 for RB, and I'm okay with that. But I would take every running back almost that's ahead of him. Give me Travis Etienne. Give me an old man Zeke. I mean, I know Zeke's not old, but for the running back position, he's starting to get up there. Give me all those guys around that position. Now you go and bring in Rojo. You bring in Ronald Jones, who I thought was a great compliment to CEH. He's going at RB 40 in Fantasy Pros current ADP. I would take Rojo at that. I would take CEH. But then they bring back Jerick McKinnon. They still have Derek Gore. That's 4 running backs. But the biggest thing to me is Andy Reid in that system has always liked to use a committee, not a number one. Even going back to Philly, you had Shady McCoy, but you had other guys. You had Brian Westbrook, but they used him like a wide receiver. I think they're going to use what I would do is I would use CEH and Rojo and then use and McKinnon in the passing game a little bit and use Rojo as your goal line back. I don't know if that's going to happen. I know we're talking about running backs, but the one thing they need to do, and I'm praying that Andy Reid does this, stop using McCole Hardman as a gimmick running back kind of guy like you wanted to use like Debo. He's not that kind of guy. Keep him out of the goddamn backfield.
Thank you. Can we focus on him being a competent wide receiver first before we start plugging him into the backfield with jet sweeps and shit? I mean, your point is absolutely correct, Mikey. I'm just going to go out and say it. There is no other Debo. Stop trying to make other people Debo. Debo is a unicorn in the way he was used, and even he doesn't want to be used like that. No. All right? So let's just enjoy that for what it was, a moment in time where a guy was like 2. But I mean, yeah, you got to stop trying to shoehorn these guys in there like that. I mean, so with the departure of Tyreek Hill, do you think that's going to be opening up some targets more in the backfield at all? Are we going to see that part of the game flourish a bit more? And who's going to be that guy?
I think that's why they brought him. I think that's why they have that many guys in the stable. I think that's why they have that many guys in the stable in the sense of they're going to have to use more guys because they're going to want to use a few more targets a game on that backfield. I personally think that's probably going to be CEH. I just don't want them to use CEH inside the 10. If they could not use CEH inside the 10, I would be a happy guy. I think they're going to use the running backs as a core in the passing game. Derek Gore did good running down the field, so maybe they use him inside. I don't know. Maybe they use him inside the 2. But I think they're going to use the running backs in the passing game. I think they're going to get the ball out of Mahomes' hands a little bit quicker. And they need that offensive line. is going to be a key catalyst to that running game this year, because that's another year that they're going to gel. The things that people, a lot of the casuals, I know we don't, but a lot of the casuals forget. Last year, the Chiefs had 5 new starters on their offensive line. 5.
And can you remind me how many people are on an offensive line?
5.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I'm just adding up the math here, folks. That's a significant portion of your offensive line.
Honestly, I think that's the reason they lost the Super Bowl. We lost the Super Bowl against Tampa. We couldn't freaking go against Shaquille Barrett, JPP, and Dom. Like, they destroyed us off on the offensive line.
Yep.
And that finally got anchored down last year. You go out and get Creed Humphrey, who, I'll be 100% honest, I wasn't sold on him on draft day. I was like, okay, but did we really need to get a center in the second round? Thank you, Brett Veach. Thank you, Andy Reid.
Yeah, in hindsight, a hell of a move, man. That kid is a stud, and he's going to be for years to come, man. And that's that anchor you need.
He's Oklahoma strong.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, do you think the accumulation of pieces in the backfield for the Chiefs here, do you think that's kind of we are purposely seeing these guys for specific roles within this committee, within certain plays, within certain schemes, or are they going to be kind of trying to see if a hot hand comes forward out of all this mess?
I'm going to attribute this to what I think is happening in the NFL overall. I think the days of the workhorse bell cow running back are done. Mm-hmm. I think there's only going to be a couple. You might see 1 or 2 every 3 or 4 years, depending on, like Najee. Obviously, I'm not going to sit there and say Najee and CMC and guy and Derrick Henry are not bell cow running backs. They are, but you're not going to get that on the norm anymore. And that shows when you have guys. The number 1 running back, who everyone thought was the number 1 running back, consensus RB1 in this class, was Breece Hall. Was he a first-round running back? Nope. And if you're not getting first-round capital, you're probably not going to be a bell cow. In saying that, could they find a hot hand and run it? Yeah, but I think they are departmentalizing this backfield, and you're not going to have a number 1 in Kansas City. It's just the way it is. If you're looking for a number 1, an RB1 in fantasy, don't come to KC. If you're looking for an RB2 or a flex, go for it.
So is this a backfield? Clearly you said CEH was going, what, ADP 25 right now?
RB 25.
Yeah. So is this a committee that you're going to be targeting in, say, 0 RB builds?
0 RB builds the only way.
My man. I got to admit, a couple years back, if you would ask me that question, I would have been like, I don't know, that's a bit risky for my liking. But as I've evolved as a player and everything, as I come along, one of the strategies that I do find myself falling into, because I don't go in with set strategies into a draft, but one that I find really falling towards me all the time now is the 0 RB way. And it's fun, man. The depth and the talent you get at other positions is just so fucking tempting. It's so hard. And it's like, do you want a bunch of mids? What? If you're going to get those mids, wait on them. Get those other positions locked up first. So, that being said, Mikey, how are you approaching the running back position in drafts?
So, I'm going to go to the history bank for a little bit. I'm aging myself a little bit here. I started playing fantasy when I was like, I want to say 12, 13 years old, because my dad started playing in 1983 and had fantasy drafts in our garage and our neighbors' garages. So all of his kids played. Did we finish the season? Probably not. But I remember drafting Warren Moon. I remember drafting guys like, way back. Back then, if you didn't go RB, you were losing, because back then it was all about the RBs. So I've always been an RB guy. I've always done, the RB heavy, even up to the last couple of years. I know we're not talking about this in particular, but I've done some mocks for SFB. And
we are always talking about Scott Fishbowl. That's
So-
what SFB is. For those who don't know, now you know.
so I've done some mocks. I got the 5-hole, and I've done some mocks, and of course, being in Superflex, it's so tempting not to just double, click that whatever quarterback is right there at the 1. But coming back in that 2 spot, I've always, gone RB, and then wait or whatever. In most of these, I've done one where I went Joe Burrow, Stafford, Chubb, and then WR, and then got a lower, I didn't get CH, but got a guy. I think the one was Burrow. Yeah, it was Burrow, Stafford, Chubb, WR, ETN or something like that. And I'll take that all day because you don't want to wait too long on what, I waited too long on one mock, and my second QB was Zach Wilson. And that's not really what you want in Scott Fishbowl with the Superflex. But when it goes to any kind of draft, I'm still that running back guy in the first round. I'm like in a normal draft, if it's one QB, because I still have some one QB leagues, basically my home leagues, that have been going on forever. The casual guys, I'll go running back, or running back wide, and then get another running back. I do like having that one anchor, but when it gets down to the flexes and stuff like that, and then in leagues that guys going against top guys like people that me and in the industry, like you said earlier, strategy is off the board. You can't go in with a plan.
No, sir.
To quote Bruce Lee and our buddy Rumboys Robbie, you got to be water in drafts, because if you're not, and you're like, I'm going to get my running back, and there's a run on running back, and you don't go get that wide receiver when they're zigging and you're zagging, if Chase falls a little bit, or one of my favorite wide receivers, and he's not even the number 1 on his own team. If T. Higgins falls to me, I'm taking T. Higgins every freaking day of the week, and there's no question about it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Yeah, people panic. You see a run going on, people panic. You start a run, people panic.
Yeah.
You gotta keep your fucking composure, folks. I'm telling you, when you go in and you just see, here's a little look behind Smokey's draft strategy for this year, for literally any kind of league. I start with Kyle Pitts round 1. I don't care what position I'm at. The highest I've gone on him is 103. I haven't had a draft where I've been above 103, so that's as high as I've gone on him. But I start Kyle Pitts at 103, which really throws a wrench into things, and people start panicking. They're like, what is going on? What the fuck is this moron doing? I've got it planned.
It's Smokey.
Yeah, it's right. He's a fucking wild card. But when it comes to that, I start Kyle Pitts, and then I take the values that fall to me. I don't care what position it is. I don't go in going, okay, wide receivers are probably going to drop here, so I'm going to do a 0 RB build. I don't. I just see what falls to me. And as the pieces start falling in place, you see what kind of strategy is building without you even doing it consciously. But you're soaking up values that are falling without reaching.
Yeah, I do like it. Yeah, I do like getting that anchor. The one running back that I want to bring up, because I've heard a lot about him, and he's the top guy. He's a first rounder. But I'm surprised that Dalvin Cook has fallen to like 110, 112 and I'm not even talking like super flex leagues. We're talking one QB, like best ball underdog. I know a buddy from Rumboys Network that he got freaking Dalvin Cook in one QB best ball at 110 multiple times. If he's fallen to me if he's fallen to me at 1.9, 110, I'm taking him.
Absolutely, man. This is Dalvin Cook, folks.
People are worried that, the injuries, whatever. People got to remember, one of the biggest things about fantasy football and real football when it comes to production, people don't analyze new coach hires enough. Mm-hmm. And that new system, like they had Zimmer and it was just this run, plod, whatever. The guy who's coming in from or for Minnesota's new head coach is under Sean McVay. Look what's happened to teams that have ran a Sean McVay system. Cincinnati, everyone was down on Cincinnati for a bit. Don't forget, Zach Taylor was with McVay. What happened to both teams? McVay's team and Zach Taylor's team played in the Super Bowl. Yes, I don't like that because this happened, but they happened.
No, your point is absolutely correct on that, Mikey. And like, just a question for y'all out there. Historically speaking, have Rams running backs been ones to target?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
with McVay.
Yeah. Yeah. So why are we thinking that a guy that has been bred under this system coming over to take over for these guys is going to produce a less potent Dalvin Cook? I mean, the only real concern for people has got to be the injury history, but
has to be.
It doesn't matter. People are not injury prone. Injury prone is a myth, kids. Busted. But yeah, if he's on that field, oh my God, 110. That is a fucking steal. That's a steal every time. So other than him, are there any early round RBs that you have been finding really gravitating towards your builds that you were targeting?
Early? How are we talking first rounders or are we talking second and third?
Let's go first 3 rounds.
I mean, I don't know why. Okay, so there's always those guys you can't quit. There's always guys you can't quit no matter what. 5-6 years ago, my buddy gave me a hard time because every draft he knew I was drafting Doug Martin no matter what. It was just a thing. Doug Martin was probably going to be on my team until he became a Raider. He was on my, as long as he was on Tampa Bay, he was on my team. For some reason, David Montgomery is ending up on every one of my teams. Not just this year, but like in mocks. I haven't drafted a lot of startups this year, but in mocks, he's ending up on a lot of my teams. On the other side of it, and I got hate on this on Twitter, so I want to bring it up so I can get some more. I just want to stir the pot a little bit. I'm not drafting Austin Eckler at his ADP. The reason being is he had 20 touchdowns last year, and our buddy Bo Big Time thinks I'm crazy for this. So he had 20 touchdowns last year. 20 of his 20, 100%, were in the red zone. I think it's something like 60% of those were within the 10-yard line. 70% of those were something like that were within the 10. I'm not saying he's not a good running back. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, and this is going to hurt me a little bit by saying this, they are a team to beat. The Chargers are no joke. They're not going to want to run him down the throat and ruin him before the playoffs get here this year because they have a real chance to do something. Yep. In saying that, they also drafted a guy who everyone thought was the number 2 or number 3 running back throughout the entire pre-draft process, and then he fell to the 5th. I can't remember if it was 5th or 6th round. They got Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M, who can run the ball in the red zone. He's that big guy that can get it. I think once they get to the 5-yard line, they're bringing in Spiller. I think they're going to sub Spiller more for Eckler just to save his touches. Eckler's still going to be involved in the passing game, don't get me wrong. But I think that touchdown number is going to go down. And with that, I think he's still going to be a top 7, 10 to 10 back. In half-point PPR, he's going as a RB3. I'm just not paying that price right now. I would rather get Najee. I would rather, Mixon. I would rather have those at their value than Eckler at his value.
Smoke Show! I told you, Pacheco. But there you have it. Some 2022 off-season thoughts on running backs. An assortment of interesting perspectives from the people, delivered to you as always by The Smoke Show. If you were listening on Spotify, please take the half second to leave a 5-star rating as they are new to Spotify, and I want all the stars like Mario 64. Ding. Use the other half second from earlier and hit the subscribe button on the way out. I greatly appreciate it. As always, this podcast is proudly presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group. You like money? You like fantasy points? Want to # score more? Then what are you waiting for? From statistical analysis to DFS betting knowledge in both the NFL and now the PGA to the hottest new prospects coming out of the college ranks, fantasypoints.com will cover your needs and more. And for those looking for the full meal deal, go to fantasypoints.com and use the discount code SMOKY22 for the best price off the best site in sports. Period. That's it. There you have it. I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking it out to the end. Before we sign off, I'd like to give another shout out to Jorge Martin, who you can follow on Twitter at Jorge Martin17, and Mike Hicks, who you can follow at Drop the Mic, like his name, Mike FF. Drop the Mic FF. If you wouldn't mind, shoot us a follow while you're at it on Twitter at _smoke_show. And you can follow me at Smokey Hell NFL on Twitter. My name is Josh Smokey Hell Nelson, and all I've got left to say is, where there's smoke, there's fire.